Long before European explorers and settlers came to North America, Indian people had lived here for thousands of years. Their ancestors probably came from Asia, crossing a land bridge to the top of North America. As years and centuries passed, they pushed southward all the way to the tip of South America. In North America, these people spread from coast to coast, and as they came to different kinds of land, they changed their ways of living, forming separate groups with similar customs adapted to the land where they lived. In the land we now call California, more than 100 different tribes lived between the Sierra Nevada mountains and the Pacific Ocean. Although the California tribes differed greatly in their customs and language, there were many similarities in their everyday living. They were fishermen, using bone-tipped harpoons to harvest the coastal waters, the lakes, and the streams. And they were hunters, using the bow and arrow to hunt an abundant supply of deer, elk, and smaller game. Most of the California tribes were seed gatherers, harvesting a bountiful variety of plants for their daily food. They also used plant material to make the baskets that were an essential part of their culture. In forested areas, cedar bark or redwood planks became houses. And along lake shores and swampy places, tules provided a handy building material. Dried tules became sleeping mats and houses, and were also tied into tule boats that were used for hunting and fishing on lakes and lagoons. Materials not available near their village were brought by Indian traders who journeyed from one region to another. Seashells, obsidian, beads, tools, skins, and food were exchanged as they traded for things they needed. Everywhere, songs and dances were woven into the ceremonies that governed the lives of these Indian people. The songs and dances were the expression of a people who lived in a direct, simple relationship with the land and each other. The largest group of California Indians were the Yokuts. More than 50 different Yokuts tribes lived in California's Great Central Valley. They had no written language, but the old people passed on their history and customs through the stories they shared.
Our people are known as the Wolf People. In the old days, Yowlets, the big white wolf, lived in our country. Yowlet means howler, so we are called People of the Howlers, the Yowlumne. Almost everything we need to live here is provided by the land, and you must learn and remember how to find and use these gifts. This morning, you helped us build a new house of tule mats. The tules grow near the lake and must be cut and dried several days before we begin. My mother taught me how to make string from milkweed fibers and how to twine the tules together to make a flexible mat. Long poles from the willow tree make a framework for the house, and we use strips of willow bark to tie the poles together. When the tule mats are finally rolled into place and tied to the frame, we leave an opening at the top for smoke to escape, and a door is left at one side. This is the way we've always done it, the way the old people taught us. You know that we use our houses mostly as a storage place and for sleeping. A shallow hole filled with dried tules makes a soft bed, and a blanket your mother made by weaving strips of rabbit skin together keeps you warm on the coldest nights. Your little brother has his own special cradle that I made for him. It is our custom for the grandmother to make the cradle. Mothers are too busy. I used twigs from a cottonwood tree to make it, and tied it together in a way that makes an interesting design. I fastened pieces of shell to the sunshade, so your brother has something pretty to look at, because he will stay in his cradle most of the time. Your mother can stand the cradle nearby while she works, and your brother will be safe when she comes back. Or she can take him along by carrying the cradle on her back. Our people must know how to make everything we need from the materials around us. Yesterday, your mother and sister went out to gather basket material. Your mother is a good basket maker. I taught her all my secrets, and now she's teaching her daughter. Every girl must learn where to find the roots, bark, stems, and grasses that are best, and she must know the right time to gather them. Tall stems from the grass that grows along the rivers are what we use to make our finest baskets. First, we scrape the rough seed clusters off by pulling the stems through a split stick. Then, to start a basket, we form a coil and stitch it together with material that comes from the roots of swamp grass. A sharp bone awl, made from the leg bone of a deer, is used to make a hole for each stitch. It takes lots of practice to make every stitch even and tight. The stitching material must be soaked in water to keep it soft and pliable. As the basket grows, we add designs by using different colors. Bark from the redbud tree makes red designs, and fern roots make black designs. It takes many days for your mother to make a fine basket, but when it's finished, we can use it in many ways. Her coil baskets are so tightly stitched that they can hold water. Your mother knows how to make baskets another way, too. To make a strong burden basket, she uses flexible shoots from the cottonwood tree and twines them together with the same materials she uses for stitching coiled baskets. 2 strips are used. First one, then the other, are twined around the basket's frame. Carefully, she pulls the cottonwood stems up to form the sides of the baskets. She adds stems to make the basket larger at the top and finishes the basket with a strong rim. We use our baskets in many ways, so it's important for every girl to learn how to make both coiled and twined baskets. Every boy must learn how to make his own bow and arrows. Your father's a skilled bow and arrow maker. Watch him closely. You'll learn how he shapes elderberry wood into a strong bow. Wild cane, button willow, or gooseberry shoots can all be straightened and hardened into strong arrow shafts. By sliding the shaft over a hot stone tool, your father's learned to make his arrows straight and true. He uses tail feathers from the red-tailed hawk to make his arrows fly straight. He splits the feathers in half and fastens them to one end of the shaft with deer sinew. At the other end of the shaft, he makes a socket bound with sinew to hold the point. The best arrow points are made from black obsidian that your father gets by trading with the people from the desert on the other side of the snowy mountains. He's learned how to break a flake of obsidian from a larger piece. He holds the flake in a piece of buckskin to protect his hands, and roughly shapes the point by chipping around the edges. Then slowly, skillfully, your father uses the tip of a deer antler to finish the point. Pressure from the antler tip snaps off small obsidian chips from the underside of the point. When he's finished, the point is evenly shaped and has a sharp edge. The arrow point is finally fastened to a short foreshaft. Your father uses wood from the oak tree because it's tough and hard to break. He chews deer sinew until it's soft and binds the arrow point tightly to the shaft. When the sinew is dry, he'll coat it with pitch or black tar to make it waterproof. Your father makes foreshafts with different points for hunting small animals, ducks or deer, and they all fit into the same shaft. He can carry many short foreshafts in his bag, but only needs a few long arrow shafts because they drop off when the arrow hits and can be used many times. Your father's favorite quiver is a fox skin your mother tanned especially for him. Before he goes hunting, your father always uses the sweat house. The sweat house is a sacred place only for the men. Women must never go in there. The hot fire makes the men sweat, and they scrape their bodies with a scraper made from an elk's rib. When they can't stand the heat any more, they run to the river to wash themselves clean. The men do this every day, but especially before they go on a hunt, so a deer won't catch their scent. Today, your father was teaching your older brother the secrets of stalking a deer. With a bow and arrow, they must get very close before they shoot. By dressing and acting like a deer, they move closer and closer. It might take several hours before they're close enough for a good shot. When your father brings a deer to the village, we use it in many ways. The skin is tanned for clothing. We make tools from the bones and antlers. The sinew is needed for bow and arrow making. And of course, we roast the meat over our cooking fires. We also dry strips of meat in the sun and store it for a time when the food is not so plentiful. Acorns are one of our most important foods. Every year when the acorns fall from the oak trees, our people gather many basket loads, enough to last every family all year long. We carry the acorns back to the village in our burden baskets and store them in special storage granaries until we need them. It takes a lot of work to prepare acorns for eating. First, we have to crack the outer shells and remove the kernels. Then we take them to the large rocks at the edge of the village and pound the acorns into a fine meal. Our people have used this place as long as anyone can remember, and the songs we sing as we work are the same ones our old people learned as children. We make all the tools we use, the soap brush, the smooth pounding stone, and even the grinding holes that get deeper every year. We also make a flat basket tray to sift the fine meal from the coarse pieces that need more pounding. But the acorn meal is still not ready to eat. It's too bitter, and it must be washed with hot water to make it sweeter. We make a hole in the sand and line it with large leaves. Then we spread a layer of acorn meal. Hot rocks are used to heat the water, and we stir them around and around so they will not burn the basket. When it's finally hot enough, we cover the meal with a grass brush and pour the hot water over it to wash out the bitter taste. I can tell by tasting it whether the acorn meal is ready to eat or needs to be washed with more hot water. When the acorn meal is sweet enough, we let it dry and harden. We can eat it just this way. Or we can cook it into a thick mush. Your mother prepares acorn mush almost every day, cooking it with hot rocks in her cooking basket. Today was a good day, for your father also brought home a rabbit to roast for your meal. We live in a land with plenty of food, but we must all know how to find it and prepare it in the ways that have been taught to us by the old people. Even though we must spend a lot of time gathering and preparing the things we need to live here, there's still time for games and fun. I saw you and your father playing the pole and hoop game after the evening meal. It's lots of fun, but it also helps you learn skills that are important for hunting. Remember, we are the wolf people, the Ohlone, and we live here because this has always been our home. Learn its secrets well, and this land will give you everything you need.
Chawa nimcha haboluta